On behalf of RBCS, RBCS Australia, RBCS New Zealand, and Software TestWorks, we welcome everyone today to this webinar on advanced software testing with use cases. I am Rex Black, President of RBCS, a worldwide testing and quality assurance firm serving clients ranging from small startups to Fortune 20 global enterprises. Since 1994, RBCS has been both a pioneer and leader in quality hardware and software testing. RBCS has offices in the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and Sri Lanka with partners around the world. RBCS delivers insight and confidence to our clients, helping them get quality software and hardware products to market on time and with a measurable return on investment. RBCS has a team of international consultants that deliver customized training, consulting, and outsourcing services for clients who are looking to improve their testing and quality assurance practices. RBCS has helped hundreds of companies reduce development and support costs while assuring the best quality products are delivered to customers. I am the author of Pragmatic Software Testing, Advanced Software Testing Volumes 1 and 2, Foundations of Software Testing, Critical Testing Processes, and Managing the Testing Process. I hold a degree in computer science and engineering from UCLA. I'm also past president of the International Software Testing Qualifications Board and the American Software Testing Qualifications Board. Before we start the presentation, a couple of housekeeping notes. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please feel free to submit them. There's a questions tab available to you in the webinar interface that you can use to do that. You do not need to ask for presentation copies either in the questions box or via email. The presentation is on the web at www.rbcs-us.com. I'm aware that there was a bad link which directed you to the wrong presentation previously, but that link has been fixed. So if you tried to download it previously and got the wrong presentation, that is fixed now. Thank you to the individual who pointed that out. If you are having problems with either the audio or visual components of this webinar, please contact GoToWebinar support. If for whatever reason you cannot get to the webinar online, or if you are dealing with an unreliable connection, please download the slides from the basic library at www.rbcs-us.com, and be sure to use the telephone to connect rather than voice over IP. Also, please note that the September webinars were rescheduled due to a travel conflict. The times will stay the same. Those do seem to work well for most people, but the days have moved to earlier in the month. If you've already signed up, then you will have received an email update from GoToWebinar. And if you signed up after the change, then you'll get the right date and time from the start. When I made that change, I noted that nobody actually was signed up for either session. At least it did not appear to be. So I don't think this will affect any of you. But if you're feeling concerned, obviously you can go and double check or just re-register when you get the invite, which will come out after the end of today's webinar. Okay, so here we go. Today's presentation is the third in a multi-part series on advanced software testing. We'll do one or two more of these, I think, as these do seem to be quite popular. We're getting very good enrollment on these, and so I'll probably do a few more. Material comes from either Advanced Software Testing Volume 1 or Pragmatic Software Testing, and there's plenty of material in there, so these could go on pretty much indefinitely as long as the interest continues. So today we are going to look at testing via use cases. Now, I chose to do this whole series of webinars on advanced software testing because there are so many powerful test design techniques that have been developed over the last 30 years, but a few of these techniques are in use. So when we go in and look at clients and see what they're actually doing, we often find that they are not using these techniques. So I'm basically trying to popularize these techniques in terms of helping people understand them and know better how to use them and identify situations where they can use them. So that's sort of the mission of these webinars. All right, so and I apologize. I hear a beeping noise. If some of you are hearing that beeping noise, I apologize for for that sound. I'm not sure where the source of that is. Hopefully it will not prove too distracting. So, equivalence partitioning and boundary value analysis are useful techniques, and hope that you're all familiar with those techniques. Certainly, I think every tester needs to know those and should probably learn those first because they are the most basic. But they are most useful in terms of testing things like input field validation, of checking that the inputs that you're putting into a particular field on a screen are valid. And not all of our testing is focused on that, and at least it shouldn't be. There's more to life than just making sure that that valid inputs are accepted and invalid inputs rejected, of course. So a lot of our testing can and should focus on the business logic, how the system solves the problem that it is intended to solve, basically below the user interface layer. So we looked previously at decision tables and state-based testing as ways of testing business logic, and so in this webinar we will look at use cases. Okay, so conceptually, what are we doing with a use case? Well, you have, in a use case, you should have the typical workflows or typical scenarios by which somebody gets something important done with the system. And you also should have the exceptional workflows or exceptional scenarios. So this is, weird things that can happen, unusual things that can happen. Now, the line between typical and exceptional is, in some cases a matter of preference or judgment or what have you, but certainly we would want to make sure that well-designed use case would capture all of the normal uses, sometimes called the happy path, as well as at least the common and foreseeable unusual things that could occur. Now, these are not necessarily the same as invalid things, though they include invalid things, but they can include processing that would apply to a small percentage of the users based on some particular attributes that they would have, or something that they would need to do, but it would be pretty limited to them, or something that would only happen on an unusual or sporadic basis. Now, of course, we don't want to go to the point of having use cases that have exceptional workflows for what happens if a meteor hits the data center, unless of course we're talking about disaster recovery use cases or something like that. But for the most part, we want to stick with exceptional workflows that are within the realm of foreseeable reality, that they basically will happen at some point or another. When you get into the might happen stuff, now we're talking about risks, and that gets us to the whole topic of project risks and quality risks, which is a topic for a whole different webinar. So ideal case, we would receive from business analysts or from requirements engineers or from the business itself, from somebody, some kind of use case. Now, this could be informal, or it could be very formalized. And I'll show examples of both of those here shortly. And so the use case can be text. It can be numbered steps. So first you do this, and then this happens, and then you do this, and then this happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of thing. Or sometimes you'll see a flow chart. There might be a flow chart with text or flow chart by itself. Any number of options of how this might look. But the basic idea is it's going to show some sequence of things that could occur. Now, the important thing, if you do get a flow chart, don't mistake a flow chart for a state diagram. We looked at state diagrams in a previous